always thought there was a cameraman.
Welcome back. We spend at least 8 hours on average at work, but how many of us have actually given any thought to our office space? Not just the way our desks are placed, but the color scheme, floors, ceiling, height, the overall environment. How conducive is it for the work we do? That's what we're tackling today on Real Deal. Studies have shown that a well-designed office can boost employee performance. But well-designed can mean a variety of things. To some, it's all about having an airy, open office setting with lots of warm colors and space. Some others might think a statement front entrance, a boardroom and glassed-off rooms promote productivity. And then there are those who've transformed a basement space with no natural light into a creative work hub. Well, here to help us figure out what makes a great office space are Mervyn Hottoh, Director of Louvre Space, and Stephen Louis, Senior Lecturer from Temasek Polytechnic School of Design. Thanks for being here this morning. Now, Mervyn, what are some of the emerging trends in office designs at the moment?
Well, I think through the years there are many trends. What is more apparent in the recent years, I see, it's green, going green. You know, people want more green in their jungle of concrete jungle where they work. You know, they want more light coming in, and they want fun in workplaces. You know, they do not want to be feeling rigid in the workplaces. So employers also want employees to think out of the box, and that's why we see more colors coming in. We see more fun spaces, workspaces. That's what's coming in, I think.
I mean, we say that people are wanting these things, but do you see them actually appearing in new offices at the moment?
Oh yeah, a couple of them, you know, they have very variable spaces whereby, you know, it could be for meeting, it could be for brainstorming, it could be like a board, you know, just write up what you think for the day, you know, so everyone from the top to the bottom of the company could see what you wrote there. So that's very engaging in a sense. Yeah.
So Stephen, you've been designing office spaces as well as other interior design for more than 40 years. What are you seeing in terms of the trends toward office spaces? I think
the trend is not so much a trend, it's always been a requirement, and that is what every company has to do with retention. If you're going to spend money training people, the worst thing to happen is to see them leave. So how do you prevent them from leaving? You need to provide the proper workplace to make them want to stay.
Is that really important versus, you know, pay versus other factors? The fact that what your office looks like, really?
Yeah, I mean, where should it sort of rank in terms of important, you know?
I think it's you know, if you look back during the Silicon haze, when all these startup companies were hiring people and they were throwing money at everyone, so money was no longer a status. I recall that one person decided to go to one firm because they had a particular drink.
Oh, are you talking about the cafeterias in some of these tech companies?
So those amenities, those small things started to make the differentials. So I think the trend right now has been, again, what can we do to make ourselves different from someone else? Because basically, if you have an option, where would you want to go to spend your time to work? So, but I think it's only one aspect of it. I mean, it's part of the whole. Generally, it's about where is the best place where you can work, which is part of the reflection of the corporate company.
You also have to design based on the employees, what they do, right? I mean, you can't just use a blanket, or can you? You can't use cookie cutter type of layouts for different companies.
That would be the biggest mistake that people can make. I'll give you a good example that we tell our students when we start thinking about workplace. A scenario, maybe a client comes to you and say, I have a team and I need you to design a playing field, the workplace. My team plays on grass. There's about 9 players. So give me something. Now, suppose you have a preconceived notion because you've done it before, and you design a field for baseball players. Imagine the surprise when the team shows up and they turn out to be soccer players. They're still a team, they play on grass, but the conditions are different. So their teamwork is slightly different, which means that it's not the same as the previous team.
Well, when you talked about retention, what about how can it improve productivity, do you think?
Well, that's one of the hard things that people want to quantify, but studies have shown that if an office is better designed, that employees are willing to stay a little bit longer, be more productive.
Interesting. I don't know if that's just the case, though. I mean, if that's the sole reason, maybe they have other projects they have to work at. But Mervyn, let's talk about why you think these changes are taking place now?
Well, I think the culture has to play a part, where Singapore is moving into, for example, which kind of generations are in the workforce nowadays, what kind of age we are recruiting, So I think you're talking about anybody who is like born after 1984, something like that, they are like 25 years old. And these people are born in a time where they have a lot of things from Google. They understand what's happening in the world. They have different demands. They're looking at not only the salary that we're talking about, the environment. Hey, I like the boss. Hey, I like the environment. Hey, this is cool. I share in my Facebook. This is my workplace. I have this drink, for example, Stephen mentioned. Hey, this is our meeting room. Don't you think it's fun? And I think a lot of us will agree that we spend more time actually at work than with our families sometimes, or even in our own homes.
Sadly, yes.
Sadly, yes.
So you might as well make it a good environment to be in.
Exactly. So there's a pressure for companies to make it homely, to make it like you work here, you play here, and you learn here.
Kind of feels a little bit like you're getting sucked into work. But I have to say also that I've been to some offices where they've really gone to extreme lengths to kind of make their office different. I mean, to what extent do you think it's just a gimmick?
Not so much of a gimmick. To some extent, of course, yes. But when it comes into use, I think that the people there in the company, it depends on the people. It depends on the boss. In my understanding of design, sometimes in a traditional Chinese thinking, before you do business with someone, you visit their family, you visit their home, you can understand this person. So the same goes to offices, where I think how the office will look like has been designed shows the management.
Well, Stephen, when you design this wonderful space based on the feedback you get from your clients, things like that, what happens if people don't use the spaces as they're intended? Because I've seen that happen, at offices. They create these communal spaces so people can corroborate and, work together. But then they sit empty because no one wants to do that.
Well, I think it's a great point, by the way, because what should happen is after you design it, it ought to take on its own life. Now, if the designer has done his job properly, he would have asked the right questions, designed the right scenario, but ultimately it's the client. And as much as we can pre-think everything, you really can't until it starts being used. Because if you're going to have a paradigm shift, there will bound to be aspects about the spaces that they hadn't conceived before. People don't like change, but when they have to change, they can adapt. So to answer that question, I had worked with a client for 15 years consistently, and the first project that we had designed for them had radically changed the way they operated. This was in Japan. But as we progressed with each new office, they started to change the way it looked. Like, we've outgrown that part, let's give it something different. And so when you have a visionary client, a visionary leader who wants to move the firm ahead, they respond to those changes.
Okay, so slow going, but at least we're making changes.
Yeah, and on that note, I'm afraid we're going to have to end the interview. That's all we've got time for, but thank you very much indeed for that. There you have it from interior designer Mervyn Toh and Stephen Louis, senior lecturer from the School of Design at Temasek Polytechnic here in Singapore, how to extend the lifestyle of an office space while keeping productivity up. It's time for Breathe Now, but coming up on First Location, we take a look at how businesses in Hong Kong have been affected as the city starts the new week. Back in a while.